The Tao of Self-Confidence, episode 924. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. Visit our website at thetaoofselfconfidence.com. Your inner journey to self-confidence awaits. You can now purchase Bridging the Confidence Gap, How Empowered Women Change the World on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles, Indigo, and other book retailers sold worldwide. Get your copy today! Well, hello friend. Welcome to the Tao of Self-Confidence, where I share stories of amazing women who have discovered their inner journey to self-confidence. I'm your host today, Sheena Yap Chan, and today I have a great woman on the show today. She is a business freedom mentor, and I'm super excited to have her on to share her story with us on self-confidence. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Dominique Narciso Kim. Hey Dom, how are you today? Maybe you can fill in a little bit more about yourself to the listeners.
Yeah, thank you for having me on the show, Sheena. Yeah, so I do business coaching and mentorship for women coaches and entrepreneurs. And I really started on my path of doing this type of work when I didn't have a lot of confidence, when I didn't have that level of certainty of, knowing what I wanted to do in my professional life. I've been living overseas for quite some time, and I kind of fell into the coaching and speaking space not by accident, but through experimentation. And through all of those experiments of trying to see if I could do this as a business, I've been able to find a way to make money and find a way to do what I love doing, which is helping others find their voice and build the kind of vision and dream that they have for themselves.
Thanks for sharing that. And I love how you said, I was going to try it out and see if this works, because that's what most entrepreneurs do. Like they see something, they're going to figure it out if this works. And if it doesn't, they move on to the next. And I know sometimes as women, we tend to overthink. We want everything to be 110% perfect. We want instant results, but that's not how it works sometimes, especially if you believe in something. It might take a while. You are going to go through 100, 1,000, 10,000 ways for something not to work. And so I'm just glad you're able to forge that path. And Don, what's your cultural background?
Yeah, I'm a Filipina-American, first generation. My parents came from a province in the Philippines called Angeles, Pampanga. And yeah, I'm the first in my family to go to school in the States and to graduate from a 4-year university as well as a master's program. So go parents and go all the first geners in the audience.
Thanks for sharing that, and congrats to that. I know sometimes being the first is sometimes the toughest, because you have to live up to this pressure, especially when parents migrate from the Philippines to North America, this definition of success, living the American dream, whatever that may look like. So I'm glad you're here, especially doing your own path, which is not typical in Asian culture. And what would be your favorite self-confidence quote?
Gosh, there's this quote that I read several years ago, and I thought it was a great summary quote of how I've lived my life, and it's by Anais Nin, and it's your life shrinks or expands according to one's courage, and I believe that to be very true.
That's a great quote, and I totally believe that. There's also a phrase that says fortune favors the bold. And so it does take risks, it does take courage to go out there and do something different, especially in a culture where you're told to just do one thing, live one way. And so it's a great reminder for everyone, even myself. And in your own words, how do you define self-confidence?
Yeah, self-confidence is really having the courage and the boldness to go after what you want. I think, oftentimes we don't have all the answers, but it's really important that we learn for ourselves what it's like to go do something, to go after an idea, to go after a project, to go after something that we see that interests us. And I think confidence builds as we take those steps, even though we're scared. And the more scared we are, a lot of folks, right? We stop in our tracks. It's like, oh, I can't take that next step because I don't know what's going to happen. But in order to build confidence, you really do have to walk through the fear, bring it with you, because you're not going to know any other way unless you actually experience it. It's like reading how to swim versus getting in the water and actually swimming. There's only so much you thinking and reading and learning that you can do until you actually go do the thing and take a step out and try it out for yourself.
Thanks for sharing that great definition. I love how you mentioned going after the thing, because especially as women, we're not taught to go after the thing. We're taught things are going to come to us, it's going to appear, so we don't have to do anything. We wait for that moment, and that moment never comes because we've never gone out there and took action, make the first move. And so it's important to make that first move, make mistakes. I always talk about at my talks this strategy of ready, fire, aim. Start before you're ready, take action, and course correct as you go, because that's how we get results. And it's not going to be perfect. It's going to be a hot mess, but the more we keep doing it, that's how we get the results. So I love that you mentioned that. And Dom, what was your life like before your discovery of self-confidence?
Yeah, I think it's that's such an interesting question, and I loved reflecting on it. Before I started my business and really went out on my own, I was very driven by external achievement and external recognition. I think as a student in school, in high school, throughout college, it was all about like getting good grades and getting a good internship and getting into a good job and then in the workplace getting promoted. And once I realized that that was an endless cycle of externally trying to like figure out what I wanted. And I started to ask myself, what is going to matter for me in the long run that I'll be able to take with me anywhere in the world. And I recognized that it was going out on my own and trying this entrepreneurship thing. And once I took that step, once I tried it out for myself and see like, is this really going to work? It really opened up the possibility for more for me. And once I found that confidence in myself, once I developed that confidence in myself, it really started to blossom. So beforehand, yeah, it was more so trying to people please and do what I thought others wanted of me versus doing what I wanted for myself. And today I see that it's all been a process of learning about myself and understanding what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, what I love doing, what I don't love doing, and then really saying yes to the things that I love now versus before where I just said yes to everything.
Thanks for sharing that. And I think we're all, we're all guilty of that, right? Using external validation to see our worth. And it's easier said than done to let it go, of course, right? Because I mean, we live in an age of social media where everything is measured by how many likes and comments, how many followers you have, and we have to learn to disconnect to that. And it's not easy, of course, right? We live in a world of instant gratification. We want everything, get results right away when really, it's going to sometimes it's going to take a while, right? That's just real life. And it's not always easy, right? And you have to have that confidence to learn to detach it, because when you're so attached to it, like you have, you feel like you always have to keep up to the point where, I've heard stories where, people try to keep up with the Joneses, or, they end up being someone they don't like, or they do things that they will regret later on. And so that was really important. And what was that moment in your life when you realized, you were more than enough to go out there, be the entrepreneur that you are? What was that aha moment that gave you the confidence to say, I can do this, I can figure this out?
Yeah, this is such a good question. I For a long time I knew that I was entrepreneurial, but I didn't have a clear example or a role model or a roadmap for like how does that actually work and how would I actually be successful at it. And I recall when I was at the I would say at the epitome of my professional life, my career before I became an entrepreneur, when I was a diplomat, and I was doing these amazing things overseas that I had dreamed of when I was in my early 20s. And there came a point where I was like, there's this inner voice that's telling me, Dom, this is not it. There is something else out there for you. And for me to listen to that inner voice and start to investigate, what is this curiosity? Oh, is it entrepreneurship? Is it coaching? And I landed on coaching. I'm like, let me try this coaching thing out. And when I decided to leave my career and my job as a diplomat and step into my own business, my parents had come to Peru to visit us. And I took them out to a Peruvian restaurant to tell them that I was going to stop being a diplomat and I was going to go pursue my own business as a coach. And I remember my parents were sitting there, they were having a pisco sour, eating some ceviche. And I was like, okay, I'm like, Mom, Dad, I have some news to share with you. I'm going to quit the State Department. They're like, oh, what are you going to do? I'm like, I'm going to start my own business. And I remember looking at my dad specifically, and I said, and he was kind of like smiling at me. And I just said it to him, but it was more so for myself. I was like, Dad, because I knew my mom's always supportive. I was like, Dad, I'm not doing this for you. I'm doing this for me. And I was 33 at the time. And I remember feeling this like release of like, oh my gosh, I just gave myself permission to go do this thing. And that was the moment that really shifted for me. That was my aha. It's like, oh, I have the power to give myself permission. I get to decide how my story plays out. I don't always have to be going back to my parents to make sure that they're okay with it. And that was really the moment where I really gave myself full go for it, Dom, full force, like go do the thing that you want to do and go try it out. And it really has, that moment really gave me the freedom to go express myself differently in my career.
I love that, especially as Asian kids, you know. If you've ever seen Turning Red, there's a scene where the main character's like, you know, my parents, they gave me life, they feed me, they do everything for me. All they ever ask for is everything they tell us to do, right? And sometimes we seek that approval from our parents to the point where we're so afraid to do something, right? Every decision we make, we have to go to them and not realizing we can make our own decisions, whether they're good or bad. And so sometimes sharing the things that we want to do can be the scariest thing, right? I get it. I've been there. But once you let that go, it can, you know, it becomes a game changer because I had to do the same thing. I had to learn to let go of my parents' approval because it was eating me up to the point where I didn't do anything. And I said, you know what? I need to let this go or else I'm going to be stuck forever. And so, and it has nothing to do with like you don't love them as much. You do, but you also have to do something for yourself. And so I'm glad you're able to do that. And because of that, what's your life been like now?
Oh gosh, it's I can't stop just being so joyful and also grateful of the opportunity in front of me. I think there is so much space and room for more voices, especially more women of color voices in the world and perspective to be teaching and coaching and supporting other women and men as they're pursuing their life's goals. And I just feel this immense amount of gratitude that I get to do work that I love every single day. And I get to be home for my kids. I think that's the biggest thing. I'm the primary caretaker for our three daughters. And wherever we go, wherever my spouse's job takes us, I'm able to be there to support my children and craft and design a business that includes everybody. That includes my time for myself, that includes time for the kids, and also that includes time to be of service to others.
I love that, and thanks for sharing that. And you know, to the woman who's listening to your episode, she may be in her own journey to self-confidence. What'd be that one tip you would give to her?
Oh, to listen to your inner voice, to listen to that quiet voice within that's been asking you to express yourself. Let yourself express, communicate, experience, do the things that you've always wanted to do, and just watch yourself bloom. That's the gift that you have to give the world, is to listen to yourself and go for it.
Thanks for sharing those great tips. And if our listeners wanted to get to know a little bit more about you and what you do, is there any links or social media profiles we can connect with?
Absolutely. I'm on Instagram at Dom Narciso Kim, and also on LinkedIn, Dominique Narciso Kim as well.
Thanks for sharing that. And to our listeners, if you want to connect with Dominique, you can also head on over to the taoofselfconfidence.com and search for Dom's name. Her show notes will pop up along with everything else that we talked about. And I just want to thank Dom today for taking the time to share her story and wisdom with us. So thank you so much, Dom, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Not a problem. It was such an honor having you on the show. And to our listeners, be on the lookout for another new episode of another amazing woman's journey to self-confidence. And we'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for tuning in to another amazing episode of the Tao of Self-Confidence. Please subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts or Spotify to get your daily boost of confidence.